Um, the title of my remarks is going to be on the changing racial and ethnic ancestry of blacks in the United States. And this, to a certain extent, gets to your question about what's the proper term. Is it black? Is it African American? Uh, Historically in the United States, there were very few voluntary descendants of Africa who came to the United States. The overwhelming majority of us were brought during chattel slavery. However, since the 1960s, we've seen an extraordinary increase in voluntary black immigration into the United States. And this is changing the racial, changing the ethnic ancestry of blacks in the United States. And I want to talk about the implications of that, but there's another trend as well that's occurring at the same time, and that is, once again, historically, if you had one drop of black blood, if any of your ancestors were black going back 5, 6, 7 generations, you were considered to be black. But since 2000, the federal government has changed the definition of what it means to be black. So now if you have parents of a different race, if you have a black-white child, a black-Asian child, they're no longer actually considered black. They fall into sort of a multiracial category or two or more races category. Indeed, the other historical thing was that black people could not define their race. Race was a socially ascribed characteristic. Up to 1960, 99.4% of Americans were either black or white. 99.4%. So with the notion that any person with any black blood was black, you could instantly tell a person's race based on their appearance. But now in 2015, we've had substantial immigration from Latin America, substantial immigration from South Asia, substantial immigration from the Middle East, as well as increases in multiracials. So now it's not easy to tell a person's race based on their physical appearance. So many multiracials, and you'll hear from my son who's a multiracial in a minute, but also light-skinned blacks are being asked by others, what are you? And therefore they have some control over their racial identity. So those are the two themes I want to talk about. So I'm going to start with black immigrants. So can you go to the next slide? Okay. In 1970, only 1.1% of the black population was foreign-born. This increases to 4.9% in 1990, to 8.8% in 2010, and actually goes up to 10% in 2012. So right now, 1 out of 10 blacks in the United States are foreign-born. Indeed, if you just go to New York, a majority of the blacks you see in New York City are actually foreign-born. So you're not actually interacting with African Americans, you're interacting with Nigerians, with Ghanaians, with Jamaicans, with Dominicans. And we're seeing substantial increases, too, in black multiracials. That is, blacks with a non-black parent, black-white parentage, black-Asian parentage. Those percentages are set to increase by 80% between 2010 and 2020. So can we go to the next slide? Okay. Here's one of the things that's happening. So if you think about Dr. M. Becker, one of the things Dr. M. Becker thought could lead to an end of untouchability was intercaste marriage. We're now seeing substantial interracial marriage among the black/African American population in the United States. So you can see here in 1970, of all blacks who were married, only 1.1% were married outside of the race.